calling this meeting of the ISD Board of Education to order. The first item of order is the approval of the agenda.
I move to approve the agenda.
Second.
I know. All those in favor? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. Motion carries. First item of business is the new business. So we will be hearing tonight from the MSBA Superintendent Search firm, and they are going to kind of let us know how we're moving forward. So we'll have you come on up.
On this, but we'll figure that one out as we go. So again, thank you so much. We're excited to be with you, excited to work with you. We do have a lot to cover tonight. So one, thank you for all being here. We really do appreciate that. That really does help the conversation as we do that. I know you've got your personal calendars. We sent some things out early, so that should help us. I also know you have a tax hearing at 5:45. So I'm very familiar with that, so we'll make sure that we are done by that time and make your life a little bit easier. Also, I'm Dr. Jeanette Coward, if you don't know me. I do work for MSBA as in the search business as we do that, and retired superintendent for Park Hill, and my co-lead, let him introduce himself.
Yeah, good to see you again. Hi, Anthony. I hope you see our fruits of our labor working ahead for you here a little bit. We've had some really good meetings with board leadership and Megan and Lance in preparation for tonight. So Trent Grunmeyer again, and just excited to be working with you directly to lead the search and get you the best new superintendent we can.
So these are some of the things we'll be talking about tonight. And so really establishing that hiring timeline is going to be a major piece for us tonight of what that includes. Talking about the survey, what that's going to include, community engagement. We know that's going to be an important piece for you. As we do that, initial screenings, what that looks like for you. What does the whole application process look like? So we want to share all those things with you and what the process would be and what our recommendations are for you. And then we'll also talk about the formal interview schedule and what that looks like too. So we'll try to get to all of those things. One of the things that I think is super important really is listening to what former boards have said and what their feedback has been. And I think the key piece on there really is, and it's really hard to do sometimes, is just trust the process. I'm a process believer in all ways, and I feel like if you put a good process in place, that is number one. And the reason we want a good process is, one, we not only want to make sure we get you the very best candidate, but we want to make sure we're compliant, we're legal, we're meeting everything that's out there, and so making sure we meet all those. And it also speaks volumes to your candidates as to what you're doing and how you're doing the process. So they'll have those same questions of what your timeline is and what your process is going to be. So we want to make sure we hit those as we do that. Anything you want to add?
Yeah, I would just mention too, as we did tonight, we will try to share everything we can in draft form with you in advance, unless there's confidentiality or closed board meeting legalities to that. But it is our kind of plan to always share in advance to give you as much time to consider something before you get to the board seat. We have to make a decision. So I hope you see that even before tonight. We'll continue to try to make the process efficient and stay ahead of important decisions.
I think the other part is important too, is we really do want to honor your, I think you told me I need to point it back here. Would you please? Thank you so much. That'd be awesome. And really, it is just honoring the work that you guys do here in your district. You have an amazing district. And by the way, I do know that you have 14,000 students, not 1,400. So yes, we did go back and watch because we are all about continuous improvement. So whatever we miss, we want to make sure it's right and make sure we're giving that to you. So I apologize for that. But I do appreciate that. The other thing that I appreciate about you as a board is that you have your own set of goals that you're tracking. And so that speaks volumes. It'll also speak volumes to the candidates as we go forward. I think the part that's going to be really challenging, can you hit the next one for me, please? Thank you. Is really about the meetings to expect. And so as we post the job and start the application process, honestly, there's not much that you'll be doing during that time. It'll really be toward the end of this process that you'll have those meetings. And that's why we want to schedule those now, because I know your calendars are going to get full. And trying to get 7 board members together at the same time is not always the easiest. And so we want to have those conversations. Will it be during the night? Will it be in the evening or the afternoon, the mornings? Whatever works best for you is what we will try to set up. But we want to do that now so that we can make sure that we're providing the best information we can out there as we do that. We do want to share with you, there's the proposed timeline. Trent, you want to try it? And so this is what we're looking at right now. This is draft. I'm going to say that a million times. This is draft because the board will make the final decision on this. But our proposal is that we would go ahead and post their application period from September the 12th through December the 31st. The reason we want to go through that winter break time is that is when most people are going to fill out applications. You'll get some after Thanksgiving break, but you'll get a lot of them after that time period. And a lot of it's just when do current sitting superintendents or assistant superintendents or people interested, when do they have time? Because they have jobs. And so when will they have time to fill that out for you and get that information to us? Because it is pretty in-depth. It's not just an easy application. It's getting those 5 references. It's all the other details that we will need from them. And then we're looking at the first week of January. We're going to talk about that in a little bit, about how we review the candidate pool and how you'll get your applications. And by the way, you will get every application. You will see everything that we get. We're going to talk about that a little bit later. And then how we screen them. So how do you take all those applicants and bring them down into a manageable number to screen? And then how do you take them down one more time to identify who your finalists are going to be? And so that really is what we're looking at. And that's the week of January 19th. This is the reason why you have your calendars with you. My guess is some of you have some conflicts already just looking at those dates. So we want to work together as a team and identify what those are going to be. So we can do that one. Trent's going to talk to you a little bit about just the stakeholder survey and then engaging our stakeholders too.
Appreciate that. Good, because it's,
Oh, good.
batteries, readjust the batteries. Speaking of this timeline, the other thing I just want to mention before we leave this slide is not only is that and I'm not saying exact dates, but the general timeline also allows a good 6 months for onboarding and a smooth transition for the next superintendent as well. That is critical in the springtime. So I think that's an added bonus for this timeline as well.
And I'm sorry,
Go ahead.
are we allowed to ask a quick question? One thing that I noticed was the dates for both Grandview and Green Valley, which MSBA is also handling. Their closing date was November 30th. Are we putting ourselves at a disadvantage to be after theirs because they might snag? They're both great districts. I mean, I'm biased and ISD is better, but they're still both great districts within the metro. Are we putting ourselves at a disadvantage to have it after theirs?
So the Grandview you're talking about is actually Grandview over by St. Louis.
Oh, good to know.
So
Okay.
it's not
I didn't
Grandview
look at
here.
it that closely.
And
Okay.
yeah, so really the ones close to you, I'll be very honest, right now are Grain Valley, and then meeting next week with Center. I really feel like those are different. They are going to attract different candidates. Will you get some of the same? Probably so. I actually think it's your advantage to do it after the winter break.
Okay.
I truly do.
Let me answer. That's a really good,
It
really
is.
good question, Wendy. The other piece of that, sorry, this is what you're balancing very transparently. You're balancing, if you allow Christmas break, I can look you in the eyes and tell you you're going to get more candidates, right? They're going to get a few less because they don't allow that. The risk is you might have some of the, a top candidate or two or however many that, yes, they might get a first shot at. So that's the balance between a comparable district. I still believe with your salary range in your district, you're going to get mostly different candidates, but there's no doubt we could have some that are the same as well. But that's the rub. More candidates versus somebody that you could lose in advance. Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's a very good question. Stakeholder survey, this is something, as I alluded to before, we always try to give you an advance to proof because this is something we've proved with Carrie and Megan and Lance ahead of time. Our recommendation is we get a survey out there in multiple languages early to get as much diverse feedback as we can. And then you're going to see we have a kind of an intentional plan about also doing some community focus groups with unions, to civic groups, to chamber group, to admin team, and director group as well. So we'll share that with you. But I want to pause here and see if you had a chance to look at the survey, number one. Second, ask for feedback, and then we'll talk about the follow-up to that about when do we want to get the survey out, some of the details, as well as what does the community forums look like that we would facilitate to get more community input and feedback as well. So feedback on the survey if you've had a chance to review it.
I had a couple of items.
Yep.
It still included rural education as one of the benefits, so I think that was just an overlook.
Okay?
And then I also wanted to ask, can you please explain the provides the school as a resource for families in the community?
Yeah,
Define that.
Yes.
And maybe that's something that needs to be defined on the survey, what you mean by that.
it's a great question. And just so you know, those come from the National Education Leadership Progression, so it's standardish language, not something we just dreamed up. But it reads like that, I certainly get that. What does it mean? It means that you make your facilities available to community groups that might want to rent or utilize your facilities, and those type of partnerships.
Okay, is there a way to say that in more plain language? Because I wasn't sure if it meant like offering it to Girl Scouts or offering it as like the FSLs are in the community.
Yes.
And I mean, I guess it could mean both technically, but I wondered if there was a way to maybe massage that language. And then my other piece of feedback, is it possible to add just an open-ended comment at the end, just to ensure, because at the very end there was a list, the three,
Personal
forgive me,
and
I don't have
professional.
it in front of me. I didn't print it out.
I can read those two.
Oh, thank you.
So the two open-ended are, why do you believe these qualifications and traits are most important for the next superintendent? And what advice would you give to
What
the
advice
new?
that was,
Yeah.
yes. Could we add another open-ended, any other, or any additional comments? Just because I think we might get things that won't fit in those two silos that I think could provide valuable feedback for us.
That's a good suggestion. I would also mention, thank you for that, Wendy. We also, that advice question, I just want to let you know that we usually copy that. And then once you have a new superintendent hired, we share that advice back with them. And there's usually, other than, you get a chuckle, but more snow days and better school lunch, there's a lot of good wisdom in there too. So they will see that as well, which is why we asked that question. Yeah. All of the, Brandy, you just listed the personal professional traits and the two open-ended. I want you to also know on the personal professional traits, there's also an other. And once in a while, there will be a plethora of similar other that we would also report to you as well. So, in plain language. Great suggestions.
I want to mention too, on the survey itself, it really is the starting point for us in order to set up how we're going to run our community office.
Yeah.
You mind, as we go into that, let's talk about that.
I'm glad you said that because that was going to be my next question. I had a couple of maybe traits that we may want to add, but I like the other option. But I thought like demonstrates transparency in decision making, values input from staff and community, values diverse perspectives. So, those were just a few that I had in my own mind that no necessarily think were covered. But I was gonna ask, how does the format of the forums or,
Well, how does one lead to the other?
right.
Yeah, that's a great question. And we love this format because we can go into those forums and feel like they're more productive because we can share a little bit of information with them. This is what's coming out of your survey. These are top traits. These are top challenges. And kind of inform your focus groups about where we're at and what's coming out of the survey, and then ask more detailed questions to get clarity on some of those topics and others as well. And so that's why we like to start with the survey. We feel like we're going in more informed and can not miss an opportunity to get some clarity around key topics. As well as continue to promote the survey as well, because we always get more feedback once we push it at those focus groups. So that's why we start with that and then go to the focus groups that sometimes you have the same people and sometimes different people. And we'll talk about that next. Anything you want to add?
No, that's great. You got any other questions, just please ask us.
I had a couple of things.
Yeah.
So on the email, I'm really glad that you're using multiple methods to get out there because some work better than others for different groups. On the emails, I was curious, what is the subject line going to be on that? Because I think we have such an issue these days with email coming through, and people just don't even look at it. And so I'm just wondering if we can have something about, ISD superintendent search survey or something. I'm not exactly sure what that was, but I just want to make sure that it's identified enough that people are more likely to actually open the email and look at it. My second question was to do with lists of email addresses. I'm assuming that we're going to do staff, students, parents, we have all that data. What about community? How do you get those emails? Do you use the type of events to pick up that kind of information? Just kind of walk me through that a little bit.
Yep. Really good suggestion on the survey line, and we'll work with Megan and Lance to craft that, because I'm sure they've had success maybe with a line more like this versus this, so we can learn from that. That's also why it will not come from us, it will come from a district email, so I want you to know that as well. We listed there some of the typical outlets. Long story short, Denise, the more feedback and the more methods and options we get out there, the better. So we've had districts do it, putting it in newsletters, emails of get it to the chamber and then have them email it to the membership or other civic groups, church affiliations. Again, I don't know all of them, but I know there's a lot of them in the community, and the more we can get it to, the better. Other things are, if you can do a newspaper, a radio ad, you can even, we customize the URL so it's short, Independence Survey. People will actually go in and put that in because it's not so long and customized. So I know that's a little bit general, but we will work with Megan and your team to get it out in as many outlets as we possibly can to get the feedback that we can.
Especially like the chamber idea, that's really good.
And we've already reached out to them.
Valerie has been fantastic to work with. She and I have had several conversations, and so they will be part of our community forum. She's already committed to that, so we'll talk about that here in just a second.
And by the way, the survey is accessible to or translatable in multiple languages as well, so that will not be an issue. Beyond that, we know that one of the top priorities for you is that transparency and getting diverse feedback from your community, and we applaud you for that, and we will carry that through in this process. So, in speaking of that, here it is, by the way, I stole it from you. We've been working with Lance and Megan to put together kind of a draft of what community forums can look like, because we'll get even more feedback from those. So we wanted to show you kind of where we're at with that and some of the conversations we've had, and get your input on that next. So what you see, and jump in here, Jeanette, but what you see in front of you there is just a draft, I'm going to call it invitation flyer to community groups that we would send out, we would post, we would get out in the community, and to invite people, and those would be to our open community forums that are literally, wide open to people to come and share. We encourage you to trust us to go and facilitate those, so it's very open dialogue, and people were very honest in their feedback, and so we would facilitate those and bring you back the feedback. And then we also have invited focus groups as well, and those would be, and we have some of those potentially scheduled with your administrators, your directors, the chamber group. We've reached out to Valerie and have that lined up. Student group that we'd like to meet with, a whole slew of groups. So those would be invited. I want to be clear that the flyer in front of you would be the open community forums that we would host in multiple sites to also get expanded feedback from your community.
And again, I want to give kudos to Megan. She has been great. She and Lance have been great on helping us with this and these communications. One of the groups that you'll see on there is after in the evening, we would do 2 of these separate ones, and then we'd do one just in Spanish. It would be fully in Spanish for that population. They had reached out, and so we want to make sure that we are meeting all of those needs during that day. So we literally meet all during the day on those. For your teacher leader groups, they actually ask if they could meet separately, which is we're happy to do. We'll meet with them by Zoom the next day in the evening, so that we're not interrupting their teaching time. We want to protect their instructional time as they're doing that. So literally our day starts that morning around 8, and we will meet with different groups all throughout the day. We've got it stacked. We really want to meet with your district leaders first, and so that really was our plan, was to meet with them first, and then we have the students right after that, and then we have the chamber. And then we have all these other special groups we'll meet with. And we also understand you have unions for your support staff also. We've reached out to those. I've heard back from them. So we're just working on, their schedules are hard to work with transportation and support services. So we're probably doing some type of a Zoom with them. And if we need to do them separately, we will, or we'll do them together. So I think we've hit every group. Again, Valerie's been great. She's committed to bringing in business leaders here. We'll host them here in the building here at 1 o'clock on that day. And so she will reach out and make sure we have them here, not just her leadership team. But I shared with her, I said, it's very important we hear from your business people about what they want, because I know you have strong business partners and you want to continue that business partnership. And so how do we get their voice of what's important to them in that next leader as we're doing that too. So it's going to be a very, very busy day, but it's really a wonderful piece, because once you get the survey out, you actually get the key themes. And those key themes are really what we're gonna be honing in on is what have we missed? Is there something else we don't know about? And one of my favorite things is I just put up what's called a parking lot. It's something that's not on there, it's something that you feel like you need to know, and we need to have that. We just collect all that data for you. And then that is really just an incredible part. That actually comes back to you in November, at a November board meeting. So you'll get all information, and trust me, the people that are wanting to apply for the job, they'll be watching too, because it'll tell them a lot about what the community wants.
Can I, is this date set in stone, the October 14th? That evening is our regularly scheduled board meeting, so that would mean that none of us can be there.
I'm so glad you brought that up. Actually, that's kind of in
Is
purpose.
that on purpose? Okay.
Yes. And because the reason is, I can tell you that when I was a superintendent, when I walked in the door, I walked into the room, it changed the conversation. And as hard as you try as board members, when you walk into a room, it changes the conversation. Blake's nodding his head. He's done this for a while. Because as parents, they're there, and we are going to get your feedback, obviously, because you're going to be the ones that are making these decisions and getting the feedback from the community. So let's get the feedback from the community and get everything they want you to hear first, and then you guys can add to that. So yes.
My only concern is that folks wouldn't be able to come to the board meeting if they so wished. If there was something on the agenda or they wanted to speak on something, they wouldn't be able to. Like, it would be fine if we are not invited. Like, I understand that part, but the concern would be that the public wouldn't be able to do both because they're at the same time.
Yeah, they start at 5:30, yes.
There's a chance we could move back to 6.
Yeah, if we need to move it to 6, we can do that. I mean,
We start at 6.
Okay, yeah.
Like that's a regular meeting.
Yeah, we were just trying to get them all on the same date and trying to get them there. And honestly, it started with, when does your district leadership team meet? Because they didn't want to pull them out of the building another time. So they're already scheduled to meet on that day. So that really was kind of the anchor for us on that day. It really wasn't about the board meeting. It just happened to work out that way. So, and we'll be happy to get their feedback first. And we can say at the beginning of the meeting, we understand as a board meeting tonight, if you'd like to attend, we'd take your feedback now so that you can go and come to your board meeting. We don't want to do anything that would inhibit that.
Yeah, maybe we can move it to 5 or something too. Trying to stay after work so people could get there, but
That's
yeah,
what we're trying to do, 5:30 was why.
but maybe we could bump it up a little bit too.
Yeah, it's a great question, thank you.
This slide, I won't belabor this, but in the end, Jeanette mentioned this, we're going to synthesize the survey feedback and look for themes, as well as the focus group feedback, and we're going to bring you a pretty thorough report, since it's your privilege and responsibility to get the sense of the pulse of the community and hire the superintendent. And that's where we'll have a kind of a structured conversation with you about what are those traits, personal, professional, that you're looking for in the next superintendent. I just want you to know up front, we're going to bring back a nice thorough report and presentation in November from the survey and the meeting.
Quick question on that. One of the things we've kind of struggled with in the past is, part of that report, will it include the number of surveys that are emailed and how many are responded to, so that we can make sure we have an idea of what kind of numbers we're looking at?
I don't know if we can break it down by how many, unless we ask a question, did you get this by, it's not a typical question, did you get it by, radio or email? We could ask that, but I will be able to tell you, how many participated in the survey, yes. Staff versus student versus parents versus all of those different groups, yes. Matter of fact, throughout, if we leave it open for 2 weeks, about every 2 or 3 days, I'll be sending reports to Megan saying, hey, here's a report, do we need to tailor the participation or the method that we get more participation, which might be another email or something like that. Does that answer your question, Denise?
Yeah, I appreciate it. I'm not sure that the delivery method is as important as what I just want to make sure is that the responses that we're getting are an adequate percentage of what's being put out there. And I see what you're saying as far as if they, get it from a radio ad or, we're not going to be able to quantify that. But just, I would think the email is probably going to be the bulk of people responding. And so even knowing that, I think would be helpful. Because what I'd like to see is, like, we sent out 10,000 emails and we got back 500. I mean, that's different than we sent out 10,000 emails and we got back 4,500. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
100%. And I do a lot of these, so I'll just tell you what's probably going to happen. You're going to see a quick tick when you get it out. People are excited to fill it out. And then we'll wait 3, 4, 5 days, and then we're going to send another one. Then you'll see a tick of another one. And then you start to target it from there. Hey, why aren't more students filling this out? And I think they're actually gonna give them time, so we'll
They're
get
gonna
good
give the
feedback
students
there.
time to fill it out.
But as you start targeting it, you'll see upticks in those. So what we will try to do is be very intentional about soliciting the most feedback we can. Yeah.
And that could be everything from elementary principals, asking them to just include the link into their weekly message that they send home to their families. I mean, we're gonna try to hit them as many different ways as we possibly can.
I appreciate that. We have like Parent Square and we have robocalls that both have been fairly successful too, but I don't know how the district feels about using those delivery methods.
Right. And that's why I'm being a little general, because I don't know all your modes, but I know we will recommend to utilize them all.
And I see Megan nodding back there.
I think Megan's, yeah, she's pretty fired up for this. We've got her lined up. She's ready to go.
And I think, I mean, for the emails, and to answer Denise's question maybe, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, like it would still be anonymized even if we just tracked the click-through rates. Like we would know when people,
Yes.
when we sent something like that data and that.
Yes.
That we would be able to know that when we sent an email, they may not fill it out at that time. I know I'm someone who opens it and then forgets about it and moves on and comes back to it later, but it would at least show how many have opened it.
Right.
I also think it's important to make sure we use every form, because sometimes you're an email person and sometimes you're the parent square person, and so that way you hit hopefully everyone in that area that is their way of communicating.
Yeah, and that's why it has a QR code. Some people, I mean, it just depends on what your methodology is and you
Right.
prefer. So, yeah, I appreciate that.
The more feedback, the better. And we understand it's important. We understand it's important. I'm going to keep moving us forward just for time's sake here and talk a little bit about recruiting. We talked about this when we presented. So you can see there are efforts in, state recruiting, national, and other. I also wanted to clarify, as Jeanette clarified some of her numbers there, I'm going to take the opportunity to clarify some of my numbers for your peace of mind, if that's okay. But some of the larger, I mentioned last year, thank you, last year's search stats. And it was 14, honestly, for the smallest district to the largest, Columbia. But I wanted to just give you a better sense of where we expect your numbers to come in, and I think this is good news. I know Wright City is smaller than you, but they had 24 applicants last year on a similar timeline. Webster Groves, 29 applicants. St. Joe's had 28 and Columbia had 32. Okay, so when I say 14, I just want to clarify, we anticipate and we'll work hard to make sure that you have 20 to 30 plus applicants. More so than numbers, I want quality applicants for you. But I want to just clarify that for you tonight as well, so you know kind of where the expectations are. In that recruiting as well, if any administrators, board members have potential candidates you want us to reach out to on behalf of the district, I also want to publicly mention to certainly let us know, and that's our job to recruit for you. But we feel good about our plan to recruit, and we will be talking to you here shortly about the job posting that we will utilize to recruit for you.
And one more question regarding recruitment, sorry. If we, for some reason, heaven forbid, get 10 applicants, do we pivot? Do we try, like what, I'm sure that's happened before, where the pool is not what you had hoped it would be. What happens then?
First of all, we bring you those applicants and probably have a board meeting about that, because you have to be willing to potentially leave those candidates if you're going to extend too long, or we want to be able to have the information to go back to those candidates and say we're extending because, right, so we don't lose them. So number one, Wendy, we go back and have a conversation with you as board members of what do you want to do and what's our options. Often that is either do initial screening there and see, but at least get to know some of them, or extend at that point. We just want to make sure we don't lose some good candidates in that pool, whatever we decide. Our goal, to be honest with you, is to deliver, so that's not an issue.
So the next thing we want to talk about, and I just passed this out to you, is around salary comparisons. And so, and I know that I sent you the draft of the job posting, and so this plays into the job posting part. So wanted to give you both of those and share with you this comparison data. And by the way, please note, this was from 2024. That's what you can get from DESE right now. And so, and the other piece that I always want to caution when you look at these is some of those are driven by tenure of time in the district. So the longer they've been there, that does drive it up sometimes. And so that makes a difference in that too, as you're looking at that. So we want to be competitive as we're doing that. Yes, sir? Does anybody need these? We have hard copies if you'd like them.
printed ones.
Anybody needs one, we've got it. Thank you. Yes? So this job posting is actually what will be on the website for people to look at, and it gives them the general idea and the information about the district. And so I'm going to start at the very top corner about the district. This is just a plug-in. If you want something different there, we can certainly do that, other than Harry S. Truman went to school here. Whatever you would prefer. If there's a program that you'd like to emphasize or something, we have a limit on space, obviously, of what all we can say, because you guys offer lots of things, whether it's the health services you offer for your staff, your child care. I mean, there's so many different programs. If there's a program you'd like to highlight, if you could let us know, is there anything that just comes to mind right off the top of your heads?
As Jeanette mentioned that, I want to be clear here, the posting is just the initial basic information. We will work with Megan to also put hyperlinks to district website, programs you want to highlight, videos. I see an uptick on videos and infographics when we share them. So any of those things we can share are on top of this. This is just the basic information that we would email a candidate or should catch their attention on key questions.
And as I said, that hyperlink will be to your district website. It'll also be to your board site, because they will want to watch board meetings.
So on that first paragraph,
Mhm.
it notes that we serve over 14,000 students. Is that including pre-K? Because
Yes.
I don't think we're quite to 14 right now.
Yes, ma'am. That includes your pre-K numbers is why.
So we may want to put something like serves over 14 including.
You want pre-K through 12?
I you
You-
put that down there below.
Right.
I don't want anybody to think that we've got 14,000 K-12, and I don't think that's a figure, 13.
I think we still need to wait to get a final number on that. But
Yeah, and this is not to give an exact number, but it's like, what size of a district are we talking about? Are we talking about a district of 4,000? We're talking about a mid-size? You're one of the larger districts in the state. And if you want to just put, we are I can't remember what your number is. Are you guys 8? I can't remember. I can look it up.
I feel good about roughly 14,000 students.
Yeah.
Sure, we can do something like
I
that.
just wanted to make sure that over 14 wasn't
Yeah,
a mistake.
right.
That's all I.
Absolutely. Yeah, we can do that. Anything else?
On the graphic down there too, I think you're gonna wanna update the tax levy. I don't think that's correct. It's actually not correct.
Again, this is why it's draft.
I'm sure you're aware of that. And
This
then-
is what we pulled, so this is what was pulled from the data that we had, and we also checked. Dr. Stout, can you verify? Yeah, we've been working back and forth, so we need to update that, we can.
Yeah,
What
it doesn't match 24 or 25. So I think you're gonna want, after today, we'll have one for 25.
We'll use your updated one. That
And
was,
then one last thing,
Sure.
on the required, it said at least 3 years of successful school leadership experience. I don't know if that maybe needs to say district leadership experience, I'm not sure. Are we looking for principals, or are we only wanting, I don't know, I'm just asking.
no, I think you're probably looking for district level, so we can certainly make that change.
That's all
That's a lot, but thank you, we appreciate it. What we did know was on the preferred, one thing's reside in the district. I know that that's a requirement that you guys have. Do you want to require or prefer a doctorate degree? Any thoughts on that one? It can be preferred or it can be required.
If those are the two options, I would say preferred.
Okay, those are the two options we have. Any other thoughts on that? Okay. Because we can change out what's underneath preferred there. We'll change out some of those bullets. Strong communicator, we're good with. Strong academic performance background, I know is important for you guys. Relatable. So we can move some of this around a little bit. Is there anything that we're missing? Right, we're going to come back to contract and salary here in just a second. So these are the easy ones I want to get past.
Could we add something, and I don't know if my colleagues will agree with me, but something under the preferred
Mhm.
would be experience with populations like ours and in areas like we're urban/suburban
Mhm.
versus, like, it's just a different situation where we're located and with our students. And is there a way to have other folks done that? Have other districts done that? Is that something important that we would want
Yes.
someone to have?
Yes, we can have it,
experience?
yes, we've had it either, we've had it both ways. And so
Okay.
that's really something that's important for you guys around your, because you are a very diverse community.
Yes.
And it's also different being in a large suburban district than it is being in a rural district. They run differently.
I would agree with that. I would like somewhere for us to be transparent about the fact that, I mean, that's what I like to say, is suburban slash urban.
Mhm.
Maybe
Yeah.
more urban than we like to admit.
Our population is always changing. And another piece of feedback,
Mhm.
it's kind of clunky looking. The titles don't all match and the little infographics are all
We know that,
weird
yeah,
and-
we know that,
okay.
yeah.
And I mean, it would just be nice to have something that reflects, because I know we have nice graphics that come out of ISD, so it would be nice to have something that reflects that.
Not a problem. Anything else on those areas? We're
I
good?
just noticed one other thing, on the anticipated timeline, I believe you had on there that would start in September rather than October. Yeah, September 12th, so. Oh,
Can
you
we
said-
hang on to that for just a second? Yeah,
You've
hang
already-
on,
You've already
yeah.
updated it on your.
Yeah, it's already updated. Yep.
Okay.
But lots of things change between drafts and, yeah, that's what this is for. So up above the qualifications is contract. Can we talk about contract a little bit? And so you can do an initial 3-year contract. You can do an initial 2-year contract. You can put it back that it is an initial, as it's listed here, initial 3-year contract. And you can use that on the negotiation side, depending on where you are. The reason we put that in there now is a topic to discuss. There's lots of districts that have had to deal with separation agreements with superintendents, and so that is a sensitive area, and so we want to make sure we're meeting that. We would not ever recommend a 1-year contract. 1, you won't get applicants, but 2, we wouldn't even recommend that you're doing your evaluation as your first 18 months is really what you're doing. So let's try to make sure we get somebody in here. But I also understand continuity is incredibly important. One of the things that's made you all so successful is continuity of leadership. And so what are your thoughts? Do you want the 2 to 3, or do you want one or the other? What are your thoughts?
It sounds good, they have 2 to 3, and maybe the negotiation process.
I asked,
Each of them may be different.
I also like the flexibility.
All right. Let's talk about the next one, which is the salary range, and I gave you the salary comparison chart that's up there. And so it's a little bit of everywhere, as you can well imagine. Again, this is salary, it doesn't include benefits or anything else. That's what we're talking about here. So it kind of gives you that range, and so we had a really good conversation with President Dixon and Dr. Stout about this, about where to be and where do you want to be to. You want to attract, but you also want to give the board some flexibility. So that's why the range looks like right now 245 to 280. I don't know the experience of what's going to come into you, and I just want you to have some wiggle room, if that makes sense. So what are your thoughts on the range that we have recommended? That can change. This is up to you guys.
Can you give any feedback on the salary comparison chart of which of these districts have newer superintendents who haven't been around very long? I think they are all fairly,
Kansas City is relatively new. She has been there. She was an interim, and this is her 3rd year there. Bob has been at Blue Springs for quite a while. Hazelwood has been some experience. Francis Howell is new, is why that's in there. And then Parkway, Keith has been there for quite some time, and he's retiring this year. So matter of fact, he just retired. They've just replaced him. So this is 2024.
Liberty has a decent tenure too.
Yes, Jeremy's been there, I think he told me 13, 14 years, yeah, it's been a while.
what was the justification for the 245 as the starting? I mean, if that's your recommendation.
We wanted to give you a place, so if you had someone that come in, for example, as an assistant superintendent, or a superintendent that might be in a different district that pays less, but they still get a bump in pay. So how do we meet that without having to go too far? But also, what does it look like for sustainability into the future too? So those are your initial contracts and then I've never seen them really go backwards, I've only seen them go forward. So I want to give you a little room to go. It just depends on, I just want you to have some wiggle room, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. I'm just curious because
Mhm.
with Francis Howell at 225, so I wondered, and if that was a newer superintendent, if we were to get somebody who was new-ish in this position, why the $20,000 more recommendation? I guess I was just
Yeah,
curious what
I'm
that
gonna add a
was.
little more to that because it's
Thank
been a
you.
week or so since we met.
Yeah.
I'll just be transparent. We also looked at your current administrative team and directors to set that with potentials there, and then looking at potential candidates in the field and what it might take them to look at this job. So those were two other factors. One other thing, sorry I'm rambling here, but two random thoughts. The other thing is this is a wider range than we would normally maybe recommend putting out there, but our goal is to get you to attract the widest pool. And so I think in this case, it's wise to keep it a little wider, which gives you more flexibility.
Thank you.
So are we okay to keep the compensation range where it is right now? We're fine on that?
Yes.
Okay, and again, the final salary will be commensurate with education and with experience. So that will be out there for you, so we're doing that with them. And then anticipated timeline, again, October 1st, application would be posted out there. The reason we want that is so that we can direct people there so they can start to understand what is needed as they apply for these. As I mentioned earlier, and then keeping it open through that winter break. I just really feel like that's important for a district your size and to get the kind of candidates we want. And we want to, frankly, we want to target some people that we want to talk to about this position to do that. And then that first week of January, we'll talk more about this in just a minute and get those dates down for you to talk that through. So, and then the guidelines in this other part is really, that's just standard language. And again, yes, we'll fix the fonts and things. We want you to look as good as Megan has you guys looking all the time. She's amazing. So it's pretty good. So we're good on this now? Okay, we will make those updates and go from there. The one topic that we do need to talk about that we will get questions on is what type of a search do you want to have? So there's two types that we're going to talk about, and one is open and one is closed. I want to make sure you understand the difference on these, and Trim is going to jump in here and help me too. So on a closed search, all of the information is kept confidential all the way through until you announce who the person is. There's advantages to that are you're going to get people that are sitting superintendents. And once you put out that you're looking someplace else, you have fractured the relationship with your board and with your community. And so for them to apply, it makes a difference. You will get more applicants if it is closed. You can do some open, and we have some options for that too if you want to talk about that. And open really doesn't mean that much more. It would just mean when you name your 3 finalists, you would announce those 3 finalists to your public. And so let's discuss that a little bit. Trent, anything you'd like to add on that one?
No, somebody asked me that question when we presented, and I gave you a short answer to that. Now we're going a little bit, and I'm looking over here because it was from the right, Jill or Wendy. But there is pros and cons, and we're much more sensitive to this now because your applicant pools are different, and people, if they have a good scenario now, we've been at this a while. If the superintendent has a good scenario, meaning board relationships and administrative team and financiers are going well, it's harder to get them to apply even for a higher salary. I'm just telling you, it's harder. And so this conversation is even more important now. With that being said, you're going to get questions as board members, and we want to set you up for success or to be able to answer those questions about, well, why don't we get, if you go with a closed process, why don't we, get to know who the finalists are? When do we get to know who who you interviewed? Well, there's some things that we can do to set you up for success, for example, and to answer those questions. For example, if you see, and kind of back up to what we've shared tonight, we're front-loading this process with getting the input from stakeholders up front. And then when we get down to candidates, it's sorting and filtering and bringing the information as the board, since you're the one hiring the position. But I would want you to be able to say to stakeholders about, hey, we're getting your feedback up front. Second, after every board meeting that we have, we can work with your communications team to put out an update. No, it wouldn't have names in it, but we can say we did this at this board meeting. This is how many candidates we have at this point. This is how many candidates we had at the end. and be as transparent as we can without actually saying names, right? We understand that transparency is important, but we're also trying to, protect the process and get you the best candidates we can, so.
What are y'all's thoughts on this? It's a big topic.
It is a big topic, and I will nearly always err on the side of being more transparent than we have to. However, off every single job I've ever applied to, when they ask you that question, may we contact your current employer, it's always nope. Because I don't want to fracture that relationship, so I completely understand that. And I do love the idea of sending the updates with the information of even not the who's, but the what's and the how's and all of that. I think that would still feel transparent without hurting someone's reasoning for wanting to apply with the district.
I think the other thing we can add to that too, I like to do, and actually Megan and I have talked about it, is literally, it's just a check mark that we did this, check. We did exactly what we said we were gonna do in this process, and we didn't miss a step. And so I think that's super important to us, and it's important for me too, for both internal and external candidates, because they need to be treated and have to be treated exactly the same. And so we wanna make sure that we're aware of that too, because that is a very common thing that happens. And I would share with you, I got a text this morning from someone that's interested in a job and just asked, is it gonna be open or closed? They're already asking, and it's like, I don't know that answer.
I know I certainly want to get the best candidates, and the best candidates have a great relationship with their staff and their board, and probably aren't gonna be comfortable with an open process, so I would say I'm more leaning with a closed.
Anthony, where are you?
Yeah, thank you. I think close would be best in my opinion. I recognize that it's important to be transparent, and I think that we've all made it very clear that that's our intent and that's what we want to do. And another reason I'm thankful this is being filmed so that when people do see this, they understand what we're dealing with. But we want to not compromise the integrity of this process while also demonstrating to the community that we are going to be sharing the good news as soon as we can. So I would say closed.
Ms. Essery?
I would agree. I would agree with the closed, yes. Do board members, will we know names, or will those be?
You are going to get all of that here in just a little bit. We're going to tell you everything. You will get absolutely every applicant that we get. We're going to talk
May I
about
ask
that.
a question? Just
Sure.
because
Sure.
Jill led me this way
Okay.
in some ways. Our top bullet is weekly updates, and this is on the last screen. There we go. Weekly updates to the board secretary or president. And I understand this is standard language. Is it possible that we can all be communicated with on a weekly
Absolutely.
basis?
I prefer to do it that way and then have the board secretary send that information to all board members. I want everybody to have the same information at the exact same time.
Cool. I would appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Yeah, to clarify, that doesn't mean you don't all get it, that means we just have one contact that sends it out.
Yeah.
Great question.
And we can send it to your officers and your board secretary, whichever one's most comfortable for you guys, we're happy to do. I just want to make sure that everybody gets the same information and everybody gets it in a timely manner.
Denise, comfortable with?
I would
Yes.
prefer the closed. I was gonna mention that, and I may be the only one that feels this way, but I would prefer to only see applications that meet qualifications, because I just don't wanna waste a lot of time with a big old packet when they don't meet qualifications.
I think you're going to like what we're going to share with you in just a minute then. I think you're going to like it a lot. Mr. Dixon?
Yeah, I've already shared with you.
I know, but I want publicly here.
I am comfortable, very comfortable with the closed.
Right, and Mr. Robertson, I'm sorry I missed you.
I'm absolutely fine.
Okay.
Good job outlining it, it's the only professional way to go.
I agree. Thank you so much. So we will go with closed on that one. And so we do want to talk about the transparent communication, and I'm very aware of time still here, so I'm going to move through some of this, and then we have some questions, we can handle that. But on this transportation, transparent communication, sorry. On the weekly updates to you, we will get those, and actually, you'll actually get an email I'll send to them that'll tell you, this is the number of applicants that are currently have completed, and this is how many are in progress. And since we're not opening this till the first part of October, I will probably wait until the first part of November to start sending that to you, because you're not going to get any in the first few weeks, you know that. And so there's no reason to do that. Let's get it and give you actionable feedback and give you the actual information that you need. So we'll plan on doing that, but you'll get an email on a weekly basis as we're doing that one.
Yeah, this is also, there's probably human psychology around this, but part of the reason we tell you how many are in progress that we are talking to and working with is so you have a little peace of mind about how many are potentially coming. Rarely do they all submit, but we will know, we will be able to tell you if somebody doesn't submit what their rationale was. Maybe their family wasn't on board, or their board kept them, or something else. But we will tell you how many are in progress, so you have a little peace of mind about how many are potentially coming. And then I want you to know that we'll be working with them behind the scenes to hopefully get them to be candidates.
Sure. Let's go on down to screening candidates. If you don't mind, we'll go over the optional video, because we'll work with Megan on that, and with videos and things for you guys.
Let's go back to this real quick.
Okay, sure, go ahead.
Just again, so you know what to expect throughout the process here, and I'm sorry I'm jumping back and forth, but I'm going where the conversation goes here. But this just outlines what you can expect weekly from us after the candidate or the application deadline, and then we come back and go through. So to Denise's point about the information that you might want when, we err on the side of full transparency about candidates with the board. If you direct us and say we only want the most qualified or the qualified, then we'll certainly only give you that information. Otherwise, we're going to err on the side of giving you the information for all of them. But with that being said, we also put them in tiers. So a green tier, as we presented, would be the top candidates, best references. Middle tier would probably have some sort of blemish or licensure issue or something else that might come up. And then the red, to Denise's point, would be not qualified for probably multiple reasons. So you can tell us what you want on that. This slide just says weekly, as we alluded to, we'd give you an update starting in November. Behind the scenes, we're recruiting and trying to get applications done. When it closes, we give you a folder with all the applications, as well as our recommendations in the tiers. And then when we come and meet with you, as it alludes to, we bring a summary, boards tend to like this, a summary of every candidate and about why, what their qualifications look like, and then we walk through that to decide who are you selecting to meet with as a semifinalist. And you would get that in advance, by the way, because there's usually, a little bit of reading with that.
Down to these. Because he had several of these. This was the communication we were talking about and the infographics. So the screening of the candidates, again, there'll be initial screenings that we'll do. So that's after you get all the applications and the summaries. So we will meet in closed session and review all of those and go through that, and you'll identify which of these do you want to screen. Screenings are usually done by Zoom because your candidates are coming from lots of different places. And so this is a shorter interview, but it gives you a chance to get to know who these people are beyond what you know about them on paper and what you've seen. And please keep in mind, we are going to give you a social media background. We're going to give you all those things too. So the screening is part of that, and that's what will happen when we talk in January. The first meeting would be around just identifying who's going to be screened. The second meeting would be screening those people, and then after that, identifying who do you want for finalist. And then that final meeting that we're talking about would be to interview your finalist. So that's why those January dates are going to become very important to us as we do that. We also want to make sure we get this to you so you have time. The other side of this is we have people working at MSBA that are writing these summaries. They don't just magically appear. And so those summaries include what their current position is, what's their current salary, gives you a little bit about them, and then gives you some of the references that are down there, so it makes it a lot easier for you to do. So we want to make this as simple for you as we can do, but we also make sure you have every bit of information that you need to have that out. So they just need time to write that. So that'll close December 31st. So they get to work on January 1st and January 2nd to get that to you. But we will get those dates to you. Yes, sir.
Could you go to the qualified, there we go. Fantastic.
Yes. Okay.
Okay, perfect. My question would have been just, does it outline or specify what disqualified them or what made them not qualified? But I do see that it would be there. So.
We'll be able to answer those questions for you directly.
Nope.
And I think this would be a good, we don't have a ton of time, but to Denise's point, maybe the board just give us a little direction, or we can come back and talk at this at a future meeting about, do you want to see the non-qualified candidates or not?
I would like to see that.
Yes.
I
Sure.
feel like if we have qualification requirements and they don't meet those requirements, personally, I don't need to see that.
You can probably overlook them and not read them, but I would like to know everyone that applied. I think that
That's
would
easy.
be prudent and important for us to know that this person did apply for the job.
Exactly. We might not spend a lot of time on that application personally, but to see it and be able to, I agree with you.
And it may be the red flag that maybe they change jobs very often. And so those are just things you want to know and look at, so. But that you may know something, and may be a reason for that. So let's see if we can find that out too.
Sometimes it's good reasons.
You never
That-
know.
that makes
So that's why
sense.
we have to ask and not assume.
Just to put a bow on that, then, we will run our process as normal.
As
The folder
normal.
you'll get will have everybody. And then if you don't want to spend as much time with those candidates, you certainly have permission to spend more time on the most qualified candidates.
If you can go down to the contract language, what we would like to do, we recommend to the board, is working with your legal. We are not attorneys. But please work with your legal team. If there's anything in your contract language that you want changed that is currently in there, we do need to know that. It can be anything from how you handle health insurance to whatever's in the contract. So I encourage you to read that. We're going to ask that we get a copy so we can highlight some things, because that will be important for candidates to know. And there's going to be changes, because we need to know that too. And so let's make sure that's done. Let's don't do that at the last minute when you have somebody you want and they go, oh, I didn't know that was in the contract, I don't want to do that. Let's be upfront, because we'll be having those conversations with them, because we don't want to bring you anybody that's not going to take the job. So let's make sure we're doing our homework on that. So if you could please look at the contracts, that would be important. Yes.
Sorry, I'm getting a little bit of a rash over here, having this horror stories of contract language that gets put into this process that wasn't in there, we didn't know about, and it turns a really good finalist away because they have a good situation, and now you put in an indemnification or, a board evaluation thing that scared them off. So this is just a little bit of a sensitive thing to make sure we get our top candidates, number one. Our goal, I will just tell you publicly, is that an offer goes out the night after formal interviews, which happens about 95% of the time, or soon after. Because if it's a confidential process, that if we're not fairly quick on that, we're not rushing, but our goal is to get you all the information going into those formal interviews, including spouse and family questions, so that we're making an offer soon after that. So ideally, it's thinking about salary you want to offer, 2 or 3 year contract, when to make a public announcement, and
Sometimes residency comes up if someone has a
Relocation.
child that's a senior and wants to finish up their school. So what flexibility do you have as a district with those things? And so it's those type of things that might come up.
or relocation allowance, if you're going to entice them to, they're moving from a ways and you're giving them allowance. But those are the type of details that we want to be able to finalize that night to land your top person.
So for our timeline as a board, we probably need to set a time to work through that with our legal counsel. Do you have a suggestion, like by November we should have that done, or?
I would hope that before the Thanksgiving break, I would think would be a natural break, and I'm here, so I would like to join, at least to hear that, so I make sure we have everything on the same page and to have those contracts. So let's get that done, and it takes it off of your plate too. And then when candidates ask, we can give them the exact information. And what Trent was referring to, we actually go through the candidates with if you were to accept this offer, what would be your requirements? We would ask that of all 3 finalists to fill that out. So we need to know ahead of time, so we can tell you, is there an issue around housing? Is there an issue around moving expenses? Those type of things. And so we can know that. And what salary are they expecting, so that you're not coming in blind. Have that out. I know we're tight on time because we don't want to miss a tax opportunity here. So outgoing leaders, we're not worried about with this. Can I just give you a million shout outs to Dr. Stout and the work that he's done for us. He's been fantastic and we appreciate him so much, and we will continue to do that. So moving along, I really do want to get down to just the timeline, since we're on such we only have 14 minutes here. I do want to share with you, this is just a sample of a schedule of what it would look like to bring these in. The times can change, all of this can change. But literally, when it says meet the superintendent, for your case, it would probably be meeting with your deputy superintendent, and then the board interviewing, and then a district tour. Most of your great candidates have already been in your district many, many times, but this gives them an opportunity to get some information directly from someone that you trust within your district. I would say too that Dr. Hurl is just a huge fan of independence. I've never heard him say anything but great things, and he's going to be one of your greatest cheerleaders too, and I know that. So I trust him in that piece too. But this is just a sample, and we will talk about this in the future, but I didn't want you to not have an idea of what that could look like.
I would just add to, you see 3 finalists on here, and some of you may be saying, well, why 3? Why not 4? Why 2? Da-da-da. Not a hard number. We believe a best practice is 3 because you get a variety of candidates. It helps you kind of narrow down, but that's not hard and fast either. We've had them where we brought in St. Joe's, I remember was 4. Other times, you know, the board really agrees on a top 2. So we go into with a plan with 3, and then we let the candidate pool and the quality of those folks drive the schedule from there. We're just trying to give you a sense of what that formal interviewing day could look like.
Okay, and just because of time, would you mind grabbing your cell phones or your calendars or whatever it is you happen to have? I shall do the same. So we know we're good on the on our timeline here. However, let's look at in January. I know that seems a long ways away, but it will fill up fast here. So I'm assuming that school would start back in session probably around January the 5th would be my guess. Probably teacher professional development on the 2nd or something like that, or the 5th. So that week would be, we would want to meet with you to screen all the applicants and also hopefully even set up the Zoom meetings or set the Zoom meetings for the next week. So what works good? What would be your preferences as far as meeting the first week of January to review applicants? And then just a time frame on that?
Yes. Sometimes it works for some of these meetings to tack on other meetings, and sometimes you probably want to stand alone because it's longer. I'm just adding that. On this meeting, if you have a standing meeting, this is usually an hour and a half to 2 hour meeting to go through your candidates.
Our school board meeting isn't until the 13th, so I think it would have to be a separate
Okay.
meeting that week of the 6th.
Right, we want to get that posted so that you would meet all your sunshine requirements.
The first day of school for second semester would be the 6th.
Okay.
I don't know if that matters to anybody.
Probably with families getting back into town, I just want to be respectful of that after those breaks. So what would you like to meet on the 6th? I'm trying to think too, I want to have time, that will give us time to get the summaries to you. Closes first, second. Ooh, it'll be tight. That's tight. Can we do Wednesday or Thursday? Just, I want to, it is the holiday break, and so I know we have to do all the
Enjoying
summaries.
holiday.
Right?
Yes. Would the 8th work for you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Evening? Are we doing
You,
late?
yes. I
Are we
think
doing like at 6 o'clock, or what are we?
What is your preference?
Can we do it earlier so that it gets us home earlier on? I mean, we're talking about January, so I'm just saying.
Like 4:30?
That's hard.
When could you all be here?
Well, it's hard for
Pardon me?
people driving in.
Yeah, but, yeah, it is.
What would you prefer?
What really, honestly, whatever works for most of us. I think I can,
Can we do it 5 o'clock?
as long as I can like zoom in on the way here, if that could work.
Could be a little challenging, to be honest,
Yeah,
because
while
we'll
you're
be doing
driving.
the hard piece there. So why don't we push that a little bit later so that he can actually be here in
Yeah.
person?
Did you do it by 5 or 5:30?
Yes, I'm coming downtown Kansas City. 5 o'clock's gonna be hard, but if
5:30?
if we do 5, I can leave at 5:30. So if we start at 5, I'll leave at 4:30.
Why don't we say 5:30, because I want you to be safe.
Okay, yeah.
Let's do
Sounds good.
5:30. That's fine. That's a good compromise. So we will screen the interviews, the applicants on that day, so that'll be a long date, and then we will contact them about the screening interviews themselves. And just so you know, in those screening interviews, we'll use the feedback from the survey and the community forums, and then work with you to identify those questions. And we will actually ask those questions for you so that you can concentrate on the candidates. And so that would help you. So what time would we, the following week, does that work or not work? These would be by Zoom.
The following week is by Zoom, is that what you said?
Yes, ma'am.
If it's not the Thursday, then we could.
I am out of town that week, but I could zoom in if that's a possibility.
That one is a possibility to Zoom. Yes, that one would work. Other members of the board? Thank you for that, Jill. Okay,
I can do the 15th.
15, just stay on the Thursday.
Is there any way we could do the 14th instead, by June?
Both of those days work for me.
I'm fine either way. Anyone else?
Also, the board meeting that month would be on the 13th, so then we would have back-to-back meetings. and that kind of affects each
These will have to be set up in a separate, in a room where we can
Yeah.
project and be private.
Like our
And this
conference
so-
room over there.
Yes, that's what we've been talking about, yes.
other. Is there a time that works best if we do it on the 14th? I'm good for that.
Not to complicate this, sorry, Anthony, this is your longest one.
This is-
Okay.
We
That's what I was
don't,
gonna
we don't
ask.
have a hard and fast how many, but we know, more than 8 is too many. If you're at a half hour roughly with each candidate, you're looking at a 3-hour block potentially. So if there's any that you may want to move up to 4, we could do 5, but I'm just saying that it's going to be 8 and then deliberation.
This is the long one.
This is the longer one, yeah.
So do I hear you recommending 4 o'clock start time?
I'm saying whatever time you can get here without a speeding ticket.
What are those?
Could we do 4 o'clock on that one, just because it is challenging?
Yeah, that's far enough away.
That's far enough away you can do that
Yeah,
one?
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Granted, your point, conference room morning, conference room's good for us.
Yes.
Yeah, what's the time?
This would be your screening interviews. The first one is the screening of the applications, and then the second one is your screening of your candidates at the time. And then looking at the next week, we've got, do you want to go back to Thursday or Wednesday the 21st? Are you back? You're back. Okay. Either Wednesday or Thursday, we're trying to figure that one out. Which one would you guys prefer? The 21st or the 22nd?
So to clarify, this one is in person.
They're all, yes, you guys will all need to be in person. And even on the Zoom meeting, you will be in person, except for Jill. Yes,
Okay.
yes, you will need to be in person.
I'm okay with doing either date.
Right. We're debating 21st or 22nd, right?
Yes, yes, ma'am.
I'm good with either one.
You all have the power. Which one do you like to choose?
What about Thursday?
January 21st. Is that what we're talking about?
January 21st or January the 22nd?
And I would throw out a possibility that if the 21st works, do the 20.
Okay. Okay, I'm like, maybe that used to be.
You might do the 21st and keep 22nd as a snow date as well.
That's what was my next thing, because it's January.
Good idea.
We've been here in this weather before, so you could block both of those on your calendars. Let's just do that. That's right. 121,
Finalist interviews
these are your finalists, yes.
and in person.
Yes, you guys will be in person for all of these. The candidates will be Zoomed on the candidate screening, but they will be in person for all this, of course. Our snow day is 122.
Are we doing 5:30? Since this will be a shorter one, are we okay with 5:30 on this listing?
We'll come back and look at the schedule. You guys will be able to set that depending on, the formal
Let's-
interview schedule.
Yeah, let's hold on that one if
I
we
would
could.
just block it.
Just block that day, so it'll be, part of it is you want them in your community too. And we'll need to talk about location and those type of things too.
Anthony, you look like you have a question.
Yes.
I was just needing to clarify, the finalist interview, either the 21st or 22nd, we will be in person, absolutely, but the candidates
In person,
will physically be in person.
physically right in front of you.
Okay, thank you.
This is potential
So up
schedule.
here, it says that it could start as early as,
That was an example. It could start at 8 o'clock in the morning if you want, because we're going to tell the finalists when they're going to be here. So they're going to be here when you're available.
Dr. Stout made a good point that, like those, all 3 weeks were pretty iffy weather last time. Should we
Do we have to think about that
That's
again?
not gonna
Do
happen
we-
again. That's not gonna happen again.
You say it.
I'm saying
You
it's not
say
gonna
it.
happen.
For me, it was every Wednesday is what I remember. It was like every Wednesday it snowed.
And Sunday.
It's Sunday nights, it's Sunday evenings, so. Let's leave them where they are right now, and then as we get closer, we don't have Gary Lezak anymore, but, we'll check with some other folks.
And if we can forecast that, we may have to.
Yeah. Because at that time, the candidates won't know. We'll be telling them when they're gonna be anyway, so we can handle that.
The process will get more personal every step. I hope you see that, and that's intentional, right? More time and more personal.
As we do that. We don't have anything else on our list that I'm thinking of here. We've got the timeline, just the next steps are out there for you. So this is what will be happening, posting that job, making sure it's clean and making sure it's looking good, getting the application ready, so that it'll be ready to go on October the 1st. The first thing really will be your surveys. We want those to go over those 2 weekends. So those are scheduled to start September the 12th and go through the 22nd. You always want at least 2 weekends on surveys. Then that gives Trent and I time to review and identify the key themes, and that sets up the conversations for your community forums. So it's kind of a very stepped-out process, and then once those are finished on the 14th, I think it's the 14th, then we will prepare the presentation to you. I believe we come to you on November I think your board meeting is November the 11th, I think is correct? Yes. Yes, and it would be just part of your regular board meeting. We'll work with Cammie to make sure that's a part there, so that it's public and so that everybody sees it and everybody knows. Anything else, Trent?
No, if there's things that come up, I just say this with a little bit of a smirk. We say keep the news positive. We know schools are business and happen, but if there's things that you think would turn off a candidate or, be in the news, certainly let us know so we can anticipate that, because obviously we're going to be recruiting. And we'll work with your team, but if you have things that you want us to specifically get out there to represent the district and stuff, also let us know that. So we'll work hard to make sure this goes well. Sorry, I feel like we're racing a little bit through, but we did get through a lot tonight as well, and we really needed your feedback to hit the ground running here. So thanks for that.
Thank you.
Thank you guys so much. Thank you.
very much. Thank you. We'll take a motion to adjourn. Second. All those we need a roll call. That was a motion made by Wendy, seconded by Blake. Blake made the motion, Wendy made the second. Yes.
Yes.